So you just bought a copy of Starter Deck 16 and you're asking yourself, how do I get this deck ready to play at my local tournament store? Well, today we'll be going over exactly what to focus on when playing Uta and how you can take this deck from out of the box to the top tables at your locals. But before we can start upgrading the deck, we need to go over the core cards that come in your starter and what game plan your new leader and deck are looking to accomplish. Uta is a 5k power leader with Dawn ×1. When attacking, once per turn, reveal one card from the top of your deck and add up to one film type card to your hand. Then, place the rest at the bottom of your deck. This leader is such a beginner-friendly leader with a mechanic that will almost always hit provided you build the deck right. She attacks for 6 and draws a card. Just a very clean and powerful ability. You're rewarded for advancing the game state in your favor, and you can sequence it in ways that help you promote or inform your gameplay. Are you looking for that one card that you just weren't able to draw at the beginning of the draw phase? Well, attack with the leader ability first, and let's see if we can grab it. Did we play a bunch of cards and we need to start refilling our hand? Excellent. Let's attack with our leader and trigger our ability. The main strategy for this deck is to overwhelm our opponent with a cascade of characters. With unique on-play abilities that help call each character out onto field, multiplaying them out to swarm our opponent with some huge attack power thresholds. Looking at our starter deck, our most powerful cards are definitely New Genesis, a one-cost event that allows us to look at 3 cards from the top of our deck, reveal a film card other than New Genesis, place the rest at the bottom of the deck, then set up to one of our Dawn as active. It's effectively a zero-cost search event. I'm Invincible is also a ridiculously powerful card, as it sets our leader back up to active for 3 Dawn, allowing us to potentially equip large amounts of Dawn onto our leader, up to 7 assuming we're at 10 Dawn, and hit our opponent for 12k twice. Our new Uta blocker is also a great card. As a 4-cost 6k power blocker, she has an activate main, once per turn ability that allows us to trash one film card from our hand to give a rested Dawn to our leader or one of our characters. When combining that with our leader, we're effectively pitching one to draw one for free, helping us to sculpt our hand and seek out better options. As a Shank simp, I'm legally required to talk about him. As a 9-cost 11k power body that on-play KOs a rested character though, there isn't really much to say.
Except it's good.
If you're looking for a full review of each individual card in the starter deck, you can check out our review of Starter Deck 16 linked in the description below. But for this video, we're moving past that and we're only going to be highlighting the most playable pieces as we get to the fun part, upgrading the deck. We'll be reviewing 3 levels of upgrades today. Level 1 will focus on trimming the fat from the starter deck while maximizing the best cards from it and adding commons, uncommons, and a few rares that anyone can get a hold of cheap and easy to create a more streamlined gameplay right out of the box. This will also include maxing out copies of any of our other powerful 2-ofs from the deck. At level 2, we'll start shelling out a little bit of money on super rares and other cards that can do the job of cards we're cutting from level 1 in a more efficient and stronger way. And finally at level 3, we'll be maxing this deck out to make the most tuned and thus expensive version of the deck. Let's hop into it with the level 1 version of our deck. Starting with some of the cards that we'll be keeping from Starter Deck 16, I won't sugarcoat it, we have a lot of surgery on our hands. Bartolomeo was a once coveted card specifically for this deck. As a 2-cost 3k power character with 1k counter, at the end of your turn, he can rest himself to set up to one of our film type characters other than Bartolomeo as active. This would allow any blockers we choose to swing with set right back up as active at the end of our turn, which will absolutely be relevant later. Backlight is also a great event that we're going to play. For 2-cost main, if our leader is Uta, we might choose up to one of these effects. Rest up to one of our opponent's cost 5 or lower characters, or KO up to one of your opponent's cost 5 or lower rested characters. I don't think I have to tell you why KOing a rested 5-cost character for 2 Dawn is good, but yep, definitely good. This new category is a pretty good option. 3-cost 4k power with the potential to be 6k provided we have 6 or more rested cards. Note that it says cards, so Dawn is included in that. Our new 2k counter Luffy gets picked up, if only by virtue of it being a film searchable 2k counter, which is actually a big deal because now we have a total of 3 unique searchable 2k counters. At this point, if you haven't heard me name a card, they're unfortunately getting cut.
No, not all those song cards, they're so good.
But our number 1 rule is that if we give you guys any advice that you guys don't think sounds like fun, or you're excited to play something else, then ignore it and just try to incorporate what we're telling you into your deck list. And by that same line, if you think we overlooked something or you have a spicy piece of tech that you like, let us know in the comments and we'll get back to you. But time for the exciting part, adding new cards. And at level 1, we're specifically going to focus on streamlining Uta as cheap as possible. Which is great because this is absolutely one of the cheapest decks to make. Woohoo! So we've sufficiently gutted 30 plus cards off the rip, and now you're looking at your sleeves and thinking, "Hoo boy, I need to buy a ton more cards." Well, after level 1, it'll all be worth it. The first card I mentioned would be 7 cost 7k power Monkey D. Luffy, who is a blocker that has an on-play, play up to 1 film or Straw Hat Crew type character card with a cost of 4 or less from your hand. Second in our list would be 4 cost 5k Brook, who has an on-play ability, play up to 1 film or Straw Hat Crew type character card with a cost of 3 or less from your hand. Well, we'll also put in Starter Deck 11's 3 cost 4k blocker Uta, who reads, end of your turn, you may trash 1 event from your hand. Set up to 1 of your film type characters as active. Off of those 3 characters alone, we play 7 cost Luffy, who free plays Brook, who free plays Uta, keeping our Katakuri and 2k Luffy in consideration for that last spot as well. 3 characters with a total Dawn value of 14, played for 7. 2 of them are blockers and 2 are viable attackers. And that's the name of the game. Play these film characters to create a huge board instantly, while having your leader search for them to place them in hand. For our 2k counter considerations, we're going to throw Film Sanji and Film Chopper in as well. Chopper's a 2 cost 2k power 2k counter. With Dawn 1 when attacking, rest up to 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 2 or less. This card can also be played off Brook, and is great for resting chump blockers. Sanji, who is a 4 cost 5k power 2k counter, and has a Dawn ×1, your turn, this character gains plus 1000 power for every 3 of your rested Dawn cards. Makes for a great backswinger into your opponent's board after you play something big. After all is said and done, this is what we'll be looking at for our level 1 deck. Feel free to mix and match some of these ratios, but this is what I'd personally recommend to get you started. But now it's time to take things up a notch. With level 2, we'll be taking our Film Uta deck and begin trimming away some of the less exciting pieces for more types of cards you need to build out to strengthen our ability to search for tools and pieces. At level 2, an insanely important auto-include is 3 cost Film Nami. Nami is a 5k power who has an on-play when attacking, 1 Dawn, look at 3 cards from the top of your deck, reveal up to 1 film type card other than Nami and add it to your hand. Then, place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. Being able to search on both play and on attack will help us to scope our hand and find answers to make sure our 7 to 8 Dawn play is absolutely gassed. It's such an auto-include for this deck, but the reason why I'd call it a level 2 upgrade is because of its cost. This card is sitting at 850, and that's before this deck comes out. And you absolutely need to run 4 of them if you want this deck to be top table breaching. Surprisingly, 1 card is honestly all that's necessary to take this from level 1 to level 2. Having 2 to 3 different sources to draw cards from helps our strategy out tremendously, as all we really need to play for are the pieces necessary to create a huge board. Which is literally all that it takes, because every other green film card has been printed in the previous structure deck and in this one. So the cards are actually incredibly cheap. We'll be trading out Bartolomeo for this, because although it's nice to have our blocker stand right back up, having our opponent attack into our 7k blocker makes it still effectively a blocker, and in some cases, we may want that just to free up some board space. After which, we're left with our level 2 deck. And by the way, if you're looking for upgrade guides for any of the other new structure decks, all of the guides for the starters, 15 through 20, are up. Which brings us to level 3. In level 3, we're looking to add some expensive endgame top-end cards that helps us close out games, or further stall out our opponent. For this, let's consider our Lord and Savior, HODY Jones. HODY Jones is a 7 cost 8k rush character that reads, on play, rest up to a total of 2 of your opponent's characters or Dawn, then put the top of your life cards into your hand. HODY Jones has always been a Haymaker-esque character, allowing us to punish our opponents simply for forgetting he exists. It's easy for our opponents to see such a strongly themed deck and think, okay, yeah, so it's all film, and then wham, HODY Jones. But what are effective ways to use HODY? Well, after we've set up a powerful blocker wall, our opponent is going to have to chip away at it. We can send out HODY Jones to rest their field and either start dismantling it or attacking straight into their life for game. Another powerful card for consideration would be 8 cost 8k power Eustace Kid, who has Dawn ×1, opponent's turn. If this character is rested, your opponent cannot attack any other card than this character. It also has Activate Main. Once per turn, you may rest this character. Play up to 1 character card with a cost of 3 or less from your hand. Eustace Kid is able to free play our blocker Uta to start up a Fortress or Searcher Nami, with a Dawn to spare for her on-play ability. And with the amount of blockers on board, pulling up this huge wall might make your board feel unsurmountable to many aggro decks. And of course, to put stuff in, we need to take stuff out. For both the Eustace Kid build and the HODY Jones build, let's take out Backlight. HODY Jones can rest 2 of our opponent's characters for us, while Eustace Kid could net us another free play blocker that makes it fine if one of their characters continues to live on board, which gives us our level 3 deck list. As always, some of these ratios can and should be played with as you learn the deck and figure out what works in your local metagame, but this is where I'd recommend starting from. And that's our upgrade guide for Starter Deck 16. Let us know if we missed anything, and don't forget that channel members will have exclusive access to our live stream that airs this same day that this video goes public. But if you're looking for more great One Piece content, check out the channel and subscribe.